The movie begins as we see our protagonist, Dong-chul, and his friend Chun-sik working at a fish delivery service. Dong-chul used to be a gangster, but after meeting his wife, he retired and began working regular jobs. Soon after, they hear a commotion because one of the merchants failed to pay the maintenance fee to their boss, Kang. Chun-sik notices this and mumbles to Dong-chul that the boss hasn't given them their paychecks yet. However, when Kang and his men pass by, the two bow their heads in respect. Just then, Dong-chul receives a phone call from a man, and they both rush to visit him. It turns out that Dong-chul has a tendency to invest in shady businesses, and this time he's planning to invest in king crabs. After checking samples and hesitating for a while, Dong-chul decides to put down his money, which includes the 100 million won he borrowed from the bank. Elsewhere, we see Dong-chul's wife, Ji-soo, who works at two places just to make ends meet. Later, on the way home, Dong-chul asks Ji-soo about her opinion on investing in king crab, but she becomes enraged because he always takes investments that turn out to be scams, causing them to go into debt. Elsewhere, a group of criminals led by a man named Ki-tae is trying to force his way through a door in an apartment. After unlocking the door, he confronts and severely attacks a debtor. However, just as he's about to murder him, the debtor's daughter comes, and Ki-tae is fascinated by her beauty. He and his henchmen then kidnap the girl as a debt ransom. On the way, Ki-tae's car collides with Dong-chul's car by accident. Dong-chul then gets out of his car and inspects the damage. So he tries to persuade Ki-tae's driver, Do-sik, to come out and report the matter to the police. However, because they're holding the girl captive, Do-sik tries to move quickly and offers Dong-chul some money. When Ji-soo notices him throwing money at her husband, she arrives scolding him and tells Dong-chul to contact the cops. Ki-tae, captivated by Ji-soo's appearance, gets out of the car and begins beating his driver, and apologizes to Dong-chul. Seeing this, the couple gets freaked out and immediately gets out of there. The following day, Dong-chul goes to Kang to get his paycheck, but he only receives a small amount. He tries to plead for more, but Kang ignores him, so he's forced to leave. He then proceeds to see Chun-sik, where they learn that the king crab ship is being held in a Chinese port. They believe that they've been deceived once more and are concerned about Ji-soo's response if she finds out. That evening, Dong-chul takes his wife out to dinner to celebrate her birthday. During their conversation, Ji-soo advises that they get a fake divorce so that they can keep their apartment, but Dong-chul becomes agitated and denies doing so. He then tells Ji-soo about his king crab investment, and upon hearing the amount, she becomes furious and yells at him. He then calms her down and goes to retrieve the birthday cake, but when he comes back, she has already left. Meanwhile, Ji-soo heads home in a cab, but she feels horrible, so she texts Dong-chul and assures him that she trusts him with his decisions. Dong-chul, who is still in the restaurant, is pleased and rushes home after receiving her message. Later, Dong-chul's car has to stop in the middle of the road because a man named Lim-gyu is transferring some items to another car. However, Lim-gyu turns out to be Ki-tae's henchman, who is purposefully slowing down Dong-chul's route home. Meanwhile, at home, Ji-soo is abducted by one of Ki-tae's henchmen. Later, when Dong-chul returns home, he can't find his wife and their apartment is in a wreck. He then begins to panic and goes to the police station to report the situation. The police then show him the apartment building's CCTV footage. However, before the abduction, someone purposely disabled the CCTV cameras in the area. Afterward, as Dong-chul leaves the police station, he receives a phone call from Ki-tae, who makes him listen to Ji-soo's pleading voice. Ki-tae then says he's put a business card on the fridge and invites Dong-chul to meet him at a restaurant. When Dong-chul arrives at the restaurant, Ki-tae calls him again and requests that he open the bag in front of him. The bag turns out to be full of money, and Ki-tae tells them that this is Ji-soo's price, and that she will not be returning home now. Frustrated, Dong-chul presents the money to the cops as evidence. After the police investigate, they conclude that what happened to Ji-soo is an instance of human trafficking and try to dismiss it. Dong-chul understands that the police aren't taking the kidnapping seriously. He then discovers that numerous other women in the city have been taken in the same manner as his wife, and none have been found alive. Therefore, he decides to take matters into his own hands and contacts his friend Chun-sik to arrange a meeting with a private detective named Bear. Chun-sik informs him that Bear demands a significant sum of money, which they cannot afford. Since they've also given Ki-tai's money to the police, Dong-chul goes to see Kang again and demands his wages. However, as usual, Kang refuses to pay his entire amount and scolds him. His men begin to chase Dong-chul, but he fights each of them. Kang is terrified when he sees Dong-chul's strength and pays all his dues. Afterward, Dong-chul and Chun-sik go to meet the private detective Bear and ask for his help. He then hands over all his money to Bear, who claims it's insufficient. Therefore, Chun-sik secretly promises Bear 5% of the proceeds from their king crab investment. The following day, Bear discovers the license plate number of the person who placed Dong-chul's money bag after reviewing the CCTV tape. They eventually learn who owns the car and proceed to meet him. After interrogating the person in question, it is revealed that he sold his car license number to a bookie since he was hooked on gambling at the bookie's establishment. So, the three proceed to the shady location where the man sold his license plate. They are escorted to an official who asks if they want a number plate for vehicles or drugs. When she finds out that they want to check her client's information, she assumes they are cops and orders her guys to attack them. However, Dong-chul defeats them one by one, forcing the woman to ultimately give him the information he requires. In the evening, Dong-chul goes to a nightclub based on the business card provided by the bookie. However, the business card is outdated, and the proprietor of the nightclub has changed. While parking, he notices a van exiting with a male and several women. The man turns out to be Lim Gyu, who delayed Dong-chul's way back to his flat. Dong-chul approaches Lim Gyu as he returns to his car and urges him to get out. However, Lim Gyu eventually manages to escape from the place. Later, Dong-chul receives word that the police have discovered a body. Saddened, he rushes to the station to confirm the corpse. He is terrified, but fortunately, the dead woman is not Jisoo. The following day, Bear investigates the deceased woman and learns that she's been missing for 2 years. However, the strange thing is she was in a comatose state before being kidnapped, and her husband once went to the police station to confess for some reason. In the next scene, the three proceed to meet the guy whose wife's body was discovered. The man discloses that his wife was in a coma 2 years ago, and that he used to care and provide for her. They even appeared on a TV show to solicit funds for the treatment. However, one day, Ki-tai located him and offered him a large sum of money in return for his wife, who, according to him, was already a live corpse. The husband eventually accepted the money in exchange for his wife, and he is now feeling regretful about his actions. Before Dong-chul leaves, the man tells him some information he's obtained about the people involved. Later, as Dong-chul and his friends get into the car, they hear a loud commotion and discover that the man they just talked to has committed suicide by falling from the top of the building. Upon looking at the information given to him, Dong-chul recognizes a familiar face and business card of the guy named Do-sik, who crashed his car days ago. He then goes to meet Do-sik, who does not recognize him at all. Dong-chul then takes Do-sik from his office and brings him to Bear's office for questioning. There, he is mercilessly tortured for hours, but refuses to divulge any information. Soon after, Ki-tai video calls them and threatens to kill Jisoo if Dong-chul does not kill Do-sik. Seeing his wife being tortured, Dong-chul strangles Do-sik's neck till he collapses unconscious. Ki-tai then informs him that if he wants his wife back, he must repay the money. After the phone call ends, we realize that Dong-chul was only acting and pinching Do-sik's artery, forcing him to faint. Dong-chul then slaps Do-sik hard and he instantly awakens. After that, Do-sik reveals that they're loan sharks that abduct borrowers or their loved ones when they're unable to pay their money. They'll sometimes kidnap a woman just because of her appearance. The kidnapped females would be sold for prostitution in foreign countries at hefty prices. Ki-tai is a perv who believes money can buy anything, and it frequently does, but Dong-chul is the first to refuse to give up. However, Do-sik claims he does not know the particular location of the hostage's detention, but only the province. After gathering all of this information, Dong-chul and his friends intend to reclaim the money from the police. When they arrive at the police station, Bear and Chun-sik disguise themselves as prosecutors. They claim to have arrived from the central office in Seoul and wish to take the money bag for further examination. The officer agrees to lend the bag, but he insists on alerting the lead detective. Despite their protests, the constable phones the detective, who informs him that the matter has not been reported to the prosecution. Dong-chul stays outside listening to them, and sensing that their cover has been blown, he blows up the car of one of the police detectives to distract them. Finally, they manage to flee with the money. In the following scene, several kidnapped women are shown being held captive by Ki-tae and his crew. Ki-tae is enraged at Lim Gyu and beats him with a bat for abusing one of the women. Not long after, he receives news from Dong-chul that they've successfully recovered the money, so he invites Dong-chul to meet him at his hiding place for the exchange. After hanging up, Ki-tae orders his men to kill Dong-chul after getting back his money. Later, Ji-soo observes something unusual about the window and discovers it's been recently refurbished. She and another woman rip off the cover and try to force loose the door bar. They are able to create a little opening through which Ji-soo escapes. But as the little girl is about to go, a kidnapper stops her. Ji-soo continues to run, and Ki-tae also sets out to find her. She dashes to the main road and asks for a ride with a man, requesting that he take her to the nearest police station. After a while, the car becomes caught in traffic in front of the police station. However, Ji-soo exits the cab to continue to run. She almost reaches the door when Ki-tae's car stops in front of her and he grabs her. The following day, Dong-chul and his friends eventually make it to the location where the women are being detained. Dong-chul runs into the building, beating everyone who gets in his path as he makes his way to the top. Meanwhile, the other girls are being prepared by the abductors to be relocated elsewhere. Lim Gyu, who is in a room, hears a noise outside and runs out to investigate, only to get beaten by Dong-chul. Meanwhile, Bear and Chun-sik release the kidnapped women, and the police arrive soon after and arrest the kidnappers. Dong-chul searches for his wife, whom he believes has fled through the window. On the way, he runs into Ki-tae's car, which is carrying Ji-soo. Seeing him, Ki-tae requests that the driver proceed faster. Dong-chul follows the car in an attempt to stop it until a collision happens, causing Dong-chul's car to tumble down the hill. Ki-tae then grabs an axe and goes to attack Dong-chul. He smashes the windshield, but Dong-chul is nowhere to be found. Moments after, Dong-chul drags him down and starts punching him. After a while, Dong-chul kicks him out, and Ki-tae pretends to apologize and even threatens to commit suicide. However, Dong-chul restrains him and continues to beat him. Once Ki-tae's passed out, Dong-chul rushes toward his wife and wakes her up. The two then hug each other in happiness as the police arrive at the scene. After this incident, Ki-tae and his whole gang are arrested, while Dong-chul's story gets the news headline since he is seen as a hero. Meanwhile, the shipment of the king crab eventually arrives in Korea. Fortunately, this is an extremely beneficial investment for Dong-chul, and he ends up becoming rich. The film concludes with Ji-soo and Dong-chul celebrating her birthday by eating king crab together at their new restaurant.